As we march headlong into the future, tiptoeing our way through the muck and mire of the swamp that is the American political system, we have to realize one thing, that once the clearing of the vines has taken place, what lies on the horizon very well may be something that you did not want to grapple with. And what might that be? The nature of the outright and all-out corruption that has infected the entirety of the American system. Whether it be that of the media class or the government class, we can understand that in so many ways, they truly do nothing more than the bidding of that of, let's say, an entity that operates at a higher level than that of government itself. Truly one of the most fascinating things that we've seen unfurl is the revelation of this fact to the American people, and I would argue that the consistent and endless lies perpetrated throughout Donald Trump's first term is exactly the reason as to why. We saw that Donald Trump had endless lies volleyed upon him, and I say this as someone who is not a Donald Trump sycophant, nor even a fan of the man in the first place, but I will honestly address the nature of how it is that he operates and why he does so, which apparently the corporate press is completely devoid of doing, but of course the reason that they are devoid of the capability of doing so is because they operate as nothing more than propagandistic entities for things akin to that of the deep state. One of the things that I thought was most intriguing when it came to the nature of Donald Trump's first term in office was what? Well, you see, he was attempted to be ousted from his position of power because he was claimed to be what? A stooge for the Russian government, a Putin propagandist, nothing more than an acolyte for the Russians, and someone who had allegiance to that of the Soviets. That's right, not an exaggeration. People like Adam Schiff, as well as Hillary Clinton, and a litany of others claiming that Donald Trump's allegiance to the Russians, well, it goes all the way back to the time of even before the Soviet Union fell in December of 1991. Of course, so many of those claiming that Donald Trump's allegiance was to the Russians and to the Soviets probably couldn't even tell you how or why the Soviet Union fell, let alone the day that it did. But of course, they're going to consistently lie and volley nonsense into the ether, as we know that is their job to do. And there was perhaps no one more dedicated within the halls of Washington to this job than that of Adam Schiff. Here you see from Slate.com on March 3rd, 2019, there is direct evidence of Trump collusion with Russia, a narrative that he stuck to throughout the entirety of Donald Trump's first term, throughout the entirety of Joe Biden's term in office, and now even in Donald Trump's second term, as of recording on February 25th of 2025, Adam Schiff is still clinging to this narrative. Let's go ahead and throw it into an example of this man consistently lying on repeat to the American people on the corporate press, and then we'll see exactly why he's reacting in such a fashion that he is to that of the most recent announcement from Donald Trump, which is the appointment of Kash Patel as the director of the FBI.
I did say that there is ample evidence, and indeed there is, of collusion of people in the Trump campaign with the Russians. There's clear evidence on the issue of collusion. There is ample evidence of collusion in plain sight. Plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy. And there is significant evidence of collusion. The president is someone who seems pathologically incapable of telling the truth. This president or people around him may be compromised by a foreign power.
Do you have direct evidence of collusion with Russia?
There's direct evidence. There's abundant evidence of collusion. Persistent allegations that the Russians have been laundering money through the Trump organization. Continues to believe Russian propaganda. That makes him dangerous to our country. Donald Trump and his campaign colluded with the Russians. There is ample evidence of collusion. There is significant evidence, much of it in the public domain, on the issue of collusion. Certainly say with confidence that there is significant evidence of collusion. Ample evidence in the public domain on the issue of collusion. There is circumstantial evidence of collusion. There is direct evidence, I think, of deception. Russians gave help, and the president made full use of that help. And that is pretty damning.
Any evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia?
There is circumstantial evidence, certainly, of collusion or coordination. There has been direct evidence of deception.
But to be crystal clear, this evening, as we speak, there is no hard evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians. You said there's circumstantial evidence.
I would not phrase it the way that you did. And circumstantial evidence can be very powerful and is hard evidence. Kind of corrupt coordination of effort between the Trump campaign and the Russians. Trump campaign welcomed Russian help, built it into their campaign plan, never reported it, made full use of it, and then lied about it. I don't want to go into specifics, but I will say that there is evidence that is not circumstantial.
But you admit all you have right now is a circumstantial case.
Actually, no, Chuck. I can tell you that the case is more than that, and I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now. So, again, I think...
So you have seen direct evidence of collusion?
I don't want to go into specifics, but I will say that there is evidence that is not circumstantial.
There's a very obvious reason as to why he did not offer any of the specifics. Because there's no specificities to provide. It was a lie. a hoax, and in fact one of the greatest ever perpetrated on the American people. The fact is that if Donald Trump was actually a Russian asset, a stooge for the Kremlin, that would have been the biggest story in American history, that the person who is helming the American empire, the supposed leader of the free world, had been co-opted by a foreign entity that wasn't Israel. My goodness, that would have been a story for the decades. But of course, that's not what we're dealing with. That was nothing more than a lie. And then what we saw is the story of the Hunter Biden laptop that came forward during the 2020 election. Well, what was then stated? 51 intelligence experts came forward, including people within the halls of government like Adam Schiff, that stated what? That this was in fact proven to be a Russian plant, something that was done to try and smear Joe Biden and his legacy, to tar and feather him, to tilt the election towards Donald Trump, because he was nothing more than a Russian asset. This was the narrative that was so consistently perpetrated towards the American people in the entirety of the world, to the point where now, people, even in this day of current era 2025, a new presidency has been helmed, the war in Ukraine is finally coming to an end, and there are still people that believe that Donald Trump is ending the war in Ukraine because he is an asset of the Kremlin. That is truly a mind-boggling degree of propaganda that has influenced such an astronomical amount of people that in so many ways they very well may be unsalvageable. That is a degree of criminality that people must be held accountable for, and someone like Kash Patel getting into a position of power such as this will undoubtedly be something that very well may be leading to people like Adam Schiff having their feet finally held to the fire. And because of that thought, it's exactly why he was having this absolute freak out in front of the FBI building. So let's go ahead and throw it into that clip. And then this is also dovetailed with a clip of exactly why he's losing his mind. Not only is it the possibility of he and his ilk could be exposed for the corruption that they have been a part of, but they also very well may be focused on specifically because someone like Kash Patel, well, he believes Adam Schiff and those like him are among the most corrupt people to ever walk the halls of Washington, D.C.
This is someone we cannot trust. This is someone who lacks the character to do this job, someone who lacks the integrity to do this job. We know that. Our Republican colleagues know that. The only qualification Kash Patel has to be FBI director is that when everyone else in the first Trump administration said, no, I won't do that, that crosses moral, ethical, and legal lines, Kash Patel said, sign me up. In the first Trump administration, as we are seeing in the second, you rise to the level of your sycophancy, and no one is a bigger or more dangerous sycophant than Kash Patel. This political hack does not deserve to be in this building. He can't do the job. He won't protect the public. He will misuse the resources of the Bureau. He will weaponize it against the president's political opponents rather than protecting the safety, the public safety of the American people.
Adam Schiff is the worst criminal in Congress in the last 250 years. And what broke that we're going to talk about right now is Adam Schiff met with a whistleblower. Adam Schiff went to the podium day after day after day saying, I know nothing about this. We're not going to discuss it. We're going to protect it. And then Adam Schiff, led the prosecution of the impeachment trial in the Senate of President Donald Trump. Talk about someone who was conflicted out of the game because he was part of the hoax that brought Charmella in, manufactured that false accusation, and then peddled it out to the world. And he continued, not surprising, he's lied about almost everything in his life. But now he lied just to set up a presidential impeachment. And that's what I was talking about, these disinformation campaigns. And then he should be investigated because he lied to the world about his interactions with Charmella, who was a whistleblower, and I can't stress this enough, that started a presidential impeachment. Now, your history is way better than mine, but I can't remember the last time a president was actually impeached. It's a significant process and escalation, and it's reserved for the time when it actually shows a crime, not when it shows the manufacture of fake information to show a fake crime. The guy that found and manufactured the evidence with Charmella was the prosecutor in the case against the target of the investigation. That is the ultimate, from a prosecutorial standpoint, conflict of interest. But he knew what he was doing, and he thought he would never get exposed. And I think thanks to, I think it was John Solomon and his fantastic reporting, we now see what I've been saying for years, that I thought he met with him for sure, and it will come out, and it now has.
Truly remarkable that Adam Schiff would have the temerity to come forward and state something such as this, that he would have the gall to attempt to impugn the character of another human being, stating that they can't be trusted, they don't have the character or the integrity to be put in a position of power such as this, when you yourself, Adam Schiff, are quite literally one of the biggest liars in all of government, a hollow vassal for evil. If you were to look up the definition of liar in the dictionary, there would be a picture of Adam Schiff next to it. Do not get it mixed up. This man lives and breathes lies, and he will die with the lie, as we have seen he is undoubtedly going to have to do, because he has no other option. The thing that I find most intriguing about this, though, is that the FBI, you see, under that of Joe Biden's administration, which Adam Schiff was working in conjunction with, even during that of Trump's administration, which we understand that the intelligence agencies and Donald Trump's own FBI were working against him to attempt to oust him from power and thwart his agenda. Well, what we need to realize is that same FBI, the one that Kash Patel now heads, well, they're apparently trying to do what? Destroy the documents in relation to Jeffrey Epstein now that Kash Patel has gotten into power. Here we see from the Express Tribune, FBI allegedly deleting Jeffrey Epstein records. Whistleblower speaks out and states, a whistleblower alleges the FBI is deleting evidence to obstruct Patel and Bongino's investigations. Isn't that just something? According to the whistleblower, FBI officials are allegedly purging files tied to high-profile cases, including documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and internal operations against American citizens. If true, these actions could significantly impact ongoing investigations and public trust in the agency. Patel and Bongino, who were recently appointed to their leadership roles in the FBI, have been vocal about exposing government corruption. Patel, a former Trump administration official, has long accused the FBI of political bias, while Bongino, a former Secret Service agent, has built his platform on exposing deep state operations. Their involvement in this case adds further urgency to the allegations. Legal experts warn that if evidence destruction is proven, those responsible could face serious legal consequences, including obstruction of justice charges. Meanwhile, the FBI has yet to respond to these allegations. No response yet from the FBI, but in the end, the only response that we should all be curious about is that of what comes from its new leadership, in that of Kash Patel, the new director, and Dan Bongino, the new deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That is what we need to be waiting on, and by all means, what you can guarantee yourself is no matter what comes forward, the way that the media class is going to cover it, it's going to be in the most nonsensical light possible, and they're going to avoid the context of what matters most so that they can obfuscate the truth and try and paint a narrative for you to consume so that they can propagandize you further. And if you need an example of this, look no further than what we have here with how it is that MSNBC was covering the announcement of Dan Bongino as the deputy director of the FBI. Here we see Trump taps conservative podcaster Dan Bongino to be deputy FBI director. Several in the intelligence community have expressed concerns over Bongino's lack of experience and support for conspiracy theories. So basically what they're trying to frame this as is that Dan Bongino is nothing more than a conspiracy theory-addled podcast host, and now he's been placed in charge of one of the forefront organizations that is supposed to be the vanguard of protecting the domestic populace. Wow, look at that. Look at how irresponsible Donald Trump is being. That is the framing of this entire article. And once you see something such as this, you can realize that, well, MSNBC isn't talking about the expose of what's come forward with the announcement of apparent documents being deleted by the FBI, talking about how apparently Jeffrey Epstein and all of his cohorts within the U.S. government may be getting away with all of the heinous crimes they've committed because the evidence of those crimes may be being deleted. That's right. We don't see you talk about something such as this. Your focus is on something nonsensical, like the fact that you can just try and tar and feather someone like Dan Bongino, a former Secret Service agent, as nothing more than a conspiracy-addled podcaster. And you see, several intelligence community officials have come forward and stated that he simply can't be trusted. By all means, I would like you to answer, are they the same intelligence community officials that claimed that what we saw with the Hunter Biden laptop was nothing more than Russian disinformation? Is it by chance these same individuals? Just a thought. I'm going to go ahead and call it there. Thank you for watching. If you got this far, thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Tell me where I'm wrong in the comment section down below. Stay lovely, stay great, and most importantly, as always, of course, go tell someone you love them. Peace out.